Alright, what's up y'all, LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to ask what lockdown build dominated NBA 2K22 Next Gen the most. Now, not only the most, but also the longest. We're going to be talking about maybe what builds have come onto the scene a little bit late and then dominated the game, or the ones that have been here from the very beginning. And then we'll also discuss what the game looked like before some of these new builds came into the fold. So, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you do, to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on the noties, all that good stuff, and like always, try to 1 to 500 likes. So, the first build that really caught my eye from the very beginning of the year was going to be the 6'5". Now, this is maybe what we're discussing in default height terms. So, for those who don't know, the metric build is something that completely took this game by storm, and it really changed the game, especially in the lockdown sense. And that's why the lockdowns are so heavily impacted by this metric height being implemented. So things like a 6'7" metric and the 6'9" metric that we're going to showcase later in today's video, when those came into the scene, they definitely took over and it made things like this a little bit less relevant. Now, I will say 6'5" is still a very good height. There's not really a metric way to make this build, to be honest with you. You're not able to make it a little bit taller and still have the same stats. It just doesn't work to make a 6'6" metric build. It's one of the few heights in the game that actually doesn't have a metric build to it. But anyway, this right here I think was the pinnacle when it comes to lockdown builds at the beginning of the game. 6'5", you could go maybe somewhere between 6'8" and 7'2" wingspan, I think is the max or something like that. But anyway, minimum weight was pretty obvious. You're able to get 93 speed on this build. Now what makes that so special, and we'll go ahead and showcase that as far as the other heights around this. 6'4", you gain 1 speed. 6'3", and then move all the way down to minimum weight at 170, you still only gain 1 speed. 6'2", move it all the way down to minimum weight, you gain 2 speed, and then so on and so forth. I mean, literally you go down to 6'1", you only have 2 more speed than you would have on a 6'5" build. So that's why, in my opinion, the 6'5s were so looking dominant at the beginning of the year, because it's just the best height to speed ratio. And then when you also look at it in the other spectrum of 6'6", you go up to that, you lose literally 5 speed just for going up 1 inch of height. As you can see, minimum weight for both of them, you lose 5 speed. If you go up even 1 more height as well, you lose even more speed. You lose 6 speed right there, going down from what was 88 down to 82. So for going up 2 inches of height, you go from 93 speed to 82 speed. That is literally 11 speed loss just for 2 inches of height. So again, just to kind of reiterate a couple of things, the 6'5", to my eyes, was the most dominant lockdown build, especially at the beginning of the game. It still allows you to have Hall of Fame clamps. You could get 99 perimeter defense on this if you actually wanted to as well, and you can go up on the wingspan on this. You can still get 83 pointer for the Hall of Fame sniper. You have so much versatility with this build. You can do anything you want with it, and it's a blank slate in that aspect. I will showcase what I actually upgraded on this though, first and foremost. And just to clarify, this is what a metric 6'5" would look like. The only point in doing this, in my opinion, is that you get 1 more speed, so you're a little bit shorter, and you're able to get the wingspan glitched to the point where you can be 6'4". Now, this is meant to be more of a secondary ball handler, if you ask me, more of a shooting guard position, if you will, in Pro-Am and stuff like that. It's not really a lockdown build. It does still have pretty solid defense at like 85 perimeter D for gold clamps and then 90 steal rating. You still get Hall of Fame interceptor. You also still get the 90 steal threshold. But again, the whole point of this is kind of just to be a little bit more offensive than the other default 6'5" height would be. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, to give you a look at what we actually upgraded on for this build, in my opinion, this is a little bit more oriented toward the lockdown side of things. If you wanted to be more of a secondary ball handler or more point guard oriented, you would probably want to have a little bit more acceleration. I only have 81 on this build. Just to clarify, you only need Excel for the ball being in your hands. It doesn't affect the way you play defense at all. So 93 speed, 99 stamina. You have literally everything you would need on defense. 99 steal, 96 perimeter D, Hall of Fame clamps. You have block rating as well, and you have silver intimidator, just enough for that. You don't have silver chase down artist though. If you wanted to go a little bit higher on that block rating for the silver chase down artist, that'd be perfectly fine. However, the perk to doing this is that you get 87 ball handle at the 6'11" wingspan, and that allows you to get gold unpluckable. It's not exactly a necessity like it was at the beginning of the year. I think this was another thing that stood out about this build though at the beginning of the year was, for instance, when unpluckable and just pluck steals in the beginning of the year were going crazy. It was so nice to have at least gold unpluckable and still be a build that could assert your dominance when it comes to the pickpocket, pluck steal, 99 steal rating type stuff that was going on with like Hall of Fame menace and stuff as well. And this build was just so dominant at the beginning of the year. It's not even funny. I think this is probably one of the best builds in the game. And now, people didn't know that 75 driving dunk was the perfect like threshold to be able to get silver limitless takeoff, to be able to get the quick drops off one and the best animations possible for that. And you really didn't need anything more than that. And you didn't need to have like, let's say, 80 driving dunk for the silver posterizer, who cares? Or some people were even going for like 90, or, you know, some people maybe looked into it enough to know that 84 gave them pro contact dunks, but regardless, I think this is a perfect threshold when it comes to everything at all levels. You have 86 3-pointer as well, which is plenty hittable, very, very good. I didn't upgrade mid-range on this. Like I said, this is more meant to be a lockdown build. It's not quite as much meant to be a point guard of any sort, but anyway, lockdown and sharp takeover. You could put limitless on this if you wanted to play like a shooting guard. You could put it spot up precision if you would like, or really, I think even running double lock take would be pretty cool. Run perimeter badge drop, extreme clamps. Either way you do it, doesn't really matter. I think the three options between playmaker, lock, and sharp, it's pretty obvious that you want to go with lock and sharp. If you did go playmaker though, you'd probably be more of a secondary ball handler option. And again, that build, the way that I created it, not exactly meant to be so. So, moving along. We have the two metric builds. We're going to showcase the 6'7" metric and the 6'9" metric. These builds are so dominant, so pure, and so good at defense. It's not even funny. I think they're by far the two best lockdown builds of the game now. Now, 6'5" is definitely the number 3, if you ask me. I think it's pretty flat out just obvious. I don't think the 6'8", there's no room in the game for those. It's just a thing of the past. Default 6'6" why would you make that when you could just make this build? It's literally just half an inch taller and has the exact same stats. So that's literally how this works. Anyway, 6'7", 7'4" wingspan, 180 on the weight. It's going to allow us to have 88 speed at 6'7", which, like I said, is very glitchy. We're going to want to upgrade the mid-range to 80 though for that Hall of Fame sniper. It's just kind of a necessity. 92 driving dunk for contact dunks. That is pretty fire. Like, you get every package in the game. You have the vertical rating to go with it to be able to get all of those as well. And I gotta say, this build is the most pure lockdown of them all. Now, you could sacrifice even more in maybe, let's say, something like dunking, where if you didn't care to have contact dunks or anything like that, you could just drop this down to 75, and then boom, you're able to put everything into rebounding. And with that rebounding, it's not exactly meant to make you a rebounder. However, you could still play like that at 6'7". It's plenty doable to box out taller bigs and stuff like that. You're not going to jump over them by any means, but it still will secure a box out, and you'll probably get it like 4 out of 10 times or something like that on a 7'3", and that's doable. But the whole point of upgrading the rebounding is more so for actually the defensive badges. As you can see, we are looking like a pure lockdown out here with 81 block rating, 99 steal, and 98 perimeter defense, but you only have 21 defensive badges. Whereas, like I said, maybe if you drop all this stuff down to the point where you get 75 driving dunk, and then boom, it's just enough for your finishing anyway, you could put the rest into rebounding. You also can afford to drop your vertical now that you don't really care about having contact dunks if you made it with that 75 driving dunk right there. I will say, having vertical is very nice to have as a lockdown. It allows you to get jump contests, actually like press your Y button or triangle button and jump at people when they're shooting a jump shot if you're a little bit late and you're away from them. The better your vertical rating, the better your jump contest. It's literally as simple as that. Not to mention, I think it helps a little bit for chase down blocks as well. But either way, 56 vertical rating you can still get away with, and again, 33 defensive badges instead of 21. It goes a long way, and your versatility. The fact that you can rebound goes a long way in terms of allowing you to switch with your backside defender, or maybe if you're just playing 2s, 3s, to be able to switch everything and be able to comfortably, like I said, play on those taller bigs when it comes to boxing out and rebounding. And it's really important if you ask me. I mean, your steal rating can protect you enough down low. Like, those dudes, when they're going up for those layups and stuff, you can definitely be tapping your X button like crazy. And at the end of the day, if you foul in park, who cares? It literally doesn't matter. I mean, you have 5 of them to use. You might as well on some menace stuff. But anyway, lockdown takeovers, I would highly recommend. I mean, with this build right here, the only 2 options are gonna be glass and lock. I think with the way that you have this at 6'7", you'd want them to both be lockdown takeover. If you had more driving dunk rating, like that 92, you can get slash takeover as well. So just keep all that in mind. But again, that 6'7" metric build, in my opinion, is the best pro-am lockdown in the game, and just overall, the best pure lockdown build, regardless of any court, like 2v2, 3v3, 1v1, 5v5, it's just the hardest to score on entirely when it comes to you being kind of a fight through lock, or I call them ego locks, to be honest with you. And why I say that is because when you have the versatility, like the 6'9" right here, to be able to switch everything, you don't have to fight through screens. You can rely on your teammates a little bit more with a build like this, and you're versatile. You can really switch on to bigs, you can switch on to guards, you can do anything. So I think if we're talking in a sense of if you have 2 of each build, it's way better to have 2 6'9" defending pick and roll than it is to have 2 6'7". Why? Because like I said, for the same reason, 6'7" can't exactly hang when it comes to rebounding or interior defending at an elite level, whereas 6'9", I gotta say, these builds are elite. I mean, it's such a step up when it comes to shot blocking, rebounding, all types of stuff like that, and just your height, length, everything involved. So 6'9", 190 on the weight, 7'7" on the wingspan. If you want to go a little bit up on the weight, if you plan to play with like sort of a big man role involved with this, you could actually get enough to get 76 into your defense. That'd be enough for silver brick wall. I don't want to be too detailed and complex with this, but again, the whole point of this build is if maybe you run two of them at the primary defending spots, aka guarding ball and guarding the big man. I mean, the versatility is out of this world. 6'9" with 79 speed. You have 92 rebounding. You could just settle for the 91, but I just go a little bit higher for this extra defensive badge point. And as you can see, at 91, you get gold rebound chaser. That goes a long way. 95 block, you get Hall of Fame intimidator, and you have gold rim protector, Hall of Fame chase down artist. Just in general, 95 block rating is a huge factor in terms of defending down low. Again, if you wanted to go a little bit higher in the weight, I would definitely say it's doable. I mean, you definitely would like to have some interior defense if you plan to be guarding taller bigs. That just makes sense, and you don't really lose anything. You can still keep the gold clamps. You can go all the way down to 85 perimeter defense and still have gold clamps. I think if you up your weight enough to have 76 interior defense, you're looking at around 87 to 88 perimeter D, which is still plenty fine. I mean, it's definitely doable. 90 steal rating gives you Hall of Fame interceptor. This is what has really, if you ask me, made for the best power forward build for probably ever since the build was discovered. So 100% of the time that this build has been known to be in the game, it's been the best power forward build in the game on Pro-Am. And just in general, the best backside defender in the game. If you're playing maybe like stage 3s or something like that, or 2v2, and you're defending a really good point guard on the other end, this build right here is so huge to have. Not only for the fact of the intimidator, like I said, where if you get up in their face on maybe some hedge defense, or if your guard or lockdown on the front side of the screen needs some help and you're on the backside and you have to step up and switch, the fact that you have that intimidator and really good perimeter defense rating goes such a long way. Hall of Fame interceptor for when you show to the guard but then return back to the paint and try and get back before the big man on the other team can get there in a very easy and just accessible way. You're able to get back into the lane and just go crazy with this. And for a long period of time in this game, you're able to just hold the left trigger or L2 on PlayStation 5 and you'd be able to just get auto interception lanes while you're standing between the point guard and his center or whoever is cutting to the basket. Crazy stuff. I'm glad they patched that. It made a whole lot of sense. And just in general, I mean, this build is loaded at every aspect of it. Like literally, you can get every important defensive badge in the game at a gold or Hall of Fame level. And then again, if you wanted to up that weight a little bit for brick wall, makes a lot of sense. Now, it's not even useless in every other aspect of the build either. You can still do a lot of stuff when it comes to handling the ball. You can still be plenty fast with the ball in your hands as well. You can still shoot pretty comfortably. You still have 92 driving dunk for the contact dunks. And real quick, just to talk about the takeovers on this build, I would recommend to probably run lock and rim takeover if you're planning to play the power forward. If you want to play as more of a lockdown though, you could probably just go with double lock take. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to run slash with a build like this. You're not going to have the ball in your hands too often, if you ask me. But I wanted to showcase what you can maybe do with this build instead if you wanted to be really outside the box. So if you maximize the weight on this, like I'm talking all the way up, you have a 6'9" metric build, you have the maximum weight, maximum wingspan, you can actually get 99 defensive rebound and Hall of Fame rebound chaser. It's pretty crazy. You still maintain 74 speed as well. However, you can't get the interior defense rating at a high enough level to get anything other than silver brick wall. So it's a little bit limited as an offensive screen setter, if you ask me, but it still has so much like crazy ability in this aspect. And with the weight being all the way up, it's not something I would recommend, but you still can keep the Hall of Fame interceptor as well. And the perimeter defense is just short, unfortunately, of the gold clamps. I don't think it's something you would plan to do a whole lot if you were on a super heavy version of this build. I don't think it's the most popular or the best option regardless, if you ask me, but it's still pretty cool that you can do that with that build. Now, if you want to check this out, I have a video explaining how to make every single metric build in the game. If you saw this for the first time and you've never seen these builds before and you want to check out how to actually create them, I have a video. It's literally just LakerFan every metric build in 2K22 Next Gen. That's all you have to put in, or you could probably just put LakerFan every metric build. Simple as that. But anyway, my little brief overview on all these builds. Like I said, the 6'5" dominated the game for as long as I can remember, and all the way up until obviously the metric glitch came out. Now, even regardless of that, it's still one of the best perimeter lockdown defending builds in the game. I think the 6'7" metric is the best perimeter lockdown defending build in the game, and it has some versatility to it where you can switch on to people, you can hold your own in the paint a little bit more, you can defend slashers a little bit better than the 6'5" would or anything like that, but that's pretty rare, to be frank with you. And the 6'9", like I said, the versatility king. I mean, this is just the best overall lockdown build in the game. If you wanted to play a lot of different positions, you can play on-ball defense with this, you can play backside defender with this at an elite level. I think this is probably my favorite one right here, just from a biased or personal standpoint. 6'7" metric though goes crazy, and this 6'5" is a little bit outdated, but like I said, still pretty good. So that is my overview on which lockdown builds dominated 2K22 Next Gen. Feel free to leave your feedback in the comments if you have any disagreements or agreements, or just any feedback that you want to leave in the comments. If you made it to the end of the video, put lock to show your support that you made it all the way through, or lockdown, whatever you want to do. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed. Let's try this one to 500 likes. And other than that, take it easy, man. Peace.